Hello and welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. Right now we're joined by Staff Sergeant Sal Giunta. He was the first living recipient of the Medal of Honor since the Vietnam War for his valor and for going above and beyond the call of duty while fighting in Afghanistan. His book, Living with Honor, has just been recently re-released in paperback. It is an extremely personal account of his journey from a 17-year-old kid working at a subway in Iowa to a warrior in one of the deadliest combat zones in Afghanistan. Sergeant Giunta, it's our pleasure to have the chance to speak with you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, so we'll get to the book in just a second and the story of what happened that October night in 2007 in a minute. But first, let's start with you and how you're doing today. Like a lot of Americans, I followed your story and I know you are incredibly reluctant to call yourself a hero. You've talked openly about the burden you have felt having received this award. Has that gotten any easier, and how are you holding up?
I'm holding up great. You know, it opened up a lot of different doors for me that I never anticipated on being open, and it kind of has given me a new path in life. And it's not a bad path, it's a great life. It just has really turned the course of it. I think with time, it's become easier. The more I get out, the more I experience these young men and women joining the service, the people in the hospitals, and just to see the true heart of the American people, it motivates me. If I can be any sort of motivation for the people, let that be that I am one of them. And it has definitely made the responsibility a little bit lighter, seeing what I represent and who I represent.
Yeah, I would certainly think that's reciprocated. The American people certainly are inspired by your story. A while back, I had the honor to interview Dakota Meyer as well, a fellow recipient of the award. He talked about some of the same things that you have talked about in the past. You know, the fact that there are far braver men and women out there, far better soldiers than both yourselves, which is just, incredible to hear. But, for the veterans of the Afghan and Iraq wars, do you feel like the support system for folks suffering from PTSD or wounded vets is improving? There's been a lot of reporting about, backlogs at the VA hospital, but do you think that this is getting better for these folks?
Absolutely. I think things are getting better. I think things have never been as good as they are right now as far as addressing the post-traumatic stress issue and our military veterans returning from combat. But that being said, things can always get better. We need to never stop improving the systems in place to help these men and women as they return from combat, especially the post-traumatic stress, because it doesn't necessarily show its face today. It might show its face in 10 years, hopefully when we're not at a war. And we need to have a society that's accepting and people ready to assist when that time comes.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot that still needs to be learned about this, but it's good to hear, because you obviously have intimate knowledge of what's going on. It's good to hear that there's improvements being made. Let's go ahead and get to the book now. For people who may not be familiar with your story, you were deployed to Afghanistan. Was there anything in your training that prepared you for what you found as soon as your boots hit the ground in the combat zone?
I think there was a lot of things that the military did to prepare us. As far as truly being prepared for war, we live such a cushioned life in the United States of America. I don't think there's any way we can train to those hardships. They did prepare me in every way they could, minus the actual what war entails.
Now, I've seen some of the interviews that you've done in the past with some of the interviews that other men in your unit have done. You guys were on patrol in the Korengal Valley, also known as the Valley of Death, when you were ambushed by Taliban fighters. And, as more time has passed here, have you been able to gain more clarity, more understanding about what happened and what you actually did that night?
I don't seek those answers out. I think we all did it together. We all did everything that we could for one another and for ourselves. And I try not to go back and rehash that too many times because I can't change it. And it's not going to get any better than it already is. And I don't need to toot my own horn. I need to toot the horn of the men that we don't say their names, the Eric Gallardos and the Caleb Caseys and the Garrett Clarys out there.
Yeah, those guys are certainly, heroes as well. Their stories are incredible. What happened that night, your unit came under attack, and we're going to put up some diagrams that come from the military here. You guys were under a barrage of RPGs, AK-47 gunfire, and two enemy fighters had one of your best friends, Sergeant Brenner, in their hands. They were starting to carry him off, and that's when you ran towards them and even got shot. You were, fortunately saved by your body armor. But where does that, I don't know the best way to describe it, but where does that, I guess, complete lack of regard for your own safety come from? Was it your upbringing? Was it your military training? Or was it just simply the time that you spent in these worst possible conditions, shoulder to shoulder with these other brave men?
I truly believe I'm not a very smart man, but I am a product of my environment. And my entire life, I've been nurtured and cared for and shown what's right and what's wrong and what to do and what not to do. And when I joined the military, I became part of this brotherhood of people that'll lead you from the front, will follow you from behind, and will stand to the left and right of you no matter what the situation is. And I think what happened that night was all of us doing what we believed to be the right answer. No one did anything special. I didn't do anything special. That is definitely a trained thing to do. I didn't just make that up in my mind on how to go forward. We were all going forward, but there were so many pieces of the pie that needed to be solved. We all had a different piece, and that was just my piece of it that night.
Well, I mean, that's, again, it's incredible to hear you speak of it the way you do, so humbly. And it's hard for a guy like me to have any kind of perspective on what you went through, but, it gives me goosebumps to hear you talk about it like this. After reading this book, I'm sure it's hard for anyone who's never been in a situation even remotely close to what you went through that night to understand your mindset and everything you've been through. But as more and more people start to hear about this, they start to learn and read about the kind of man that you are, what do you hope that they take away from your book?
I hope one of the things that is taken away is that anything's possible. I'm a kid from small town Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I joined the Army not with any idea of changing the world, but just of service. And the things I've been able to do and the places I've gone because of this idea of service, if I can do it, anyone can do it. We just have to set these goals, have these priorities on what we want to do in life. And small town Iowa can do it. Small town anywhere in America can do it. Big town American can do it. I think it just is hope for the future, where every day is a new day, and we all have so many endless opportunities. We need to seize those.
Yeah, we hear so much about the bickering that goes on in Washington between the political parties. You watch cable news, there's so much bad stuff out there, but your story, just aside from the military aspect of it, which is fascinating as well, the hardships you went through, it's inspiring. And I think I'm certainly not the first person to say that. Lastly, while we have you here, I do want to give you a chance real quickly to talk about the scholarship fund that you started in honor of Sergeant Brennan and Specialist Mendoza. For our viewers, please tell us where we can go to donate, other ways we can help to support you and other service members who really need our help at this time. Absolutely.
My scholarship is currently at Cedar Rapids John F. Kennedy High School, and it's for $1,000. It's for any student going into military service, teachers, first responders, someone who wants to live a life of service. And it's in the name of Sergeant Brennan and Specialist Hugo Mendoza, because I really do. They gave everything that night. I gave absolutely nothing. I get to stick around another day because of what those men sacrificed for me. And I wanted that to be apparent at the high school that I came up in. The scholarship is through the Brian Lavalette Foundation, and it's one of several scholarships. I believe I'm one of two Medal of Honor recipients that hold their scholarships through the Brian Lavalette Foundation. But it's just one more way to give back to the community that, like I said, helped raise me. I thought it was a good idea, so why not?
Of course, and if there's ever a worthy cause, this is certainly one of them. Tell us a little bit more about what you have planned and what's down the road for you in the future.
When I got out of the military, it's been 2 years now. I had this grand idea that I was going to go to school, and I still have that grand idea that I'm going to go to school. I believe knowledge is power, but in fear of saying the grass is always greener on the other side, I continued kind of speaking, talking about what the men and women do overseas. I mean, they're busy taking care of business for us, so they don't have the time to talk, but my service has been validated, and if there's anything I can do, it's to validate what they do every day. But I do believe school will be next. I'm hoping here in the next year I can actually get enrolled in classes and go on to the next adventure in life.
Yeah, I got a couple other buddies who served over there. They're in school now. it's imperative that we make sure that not only these men and women that are coming home now can get jobs, but also that they can get further education, because yourself and so many others who have sacrificed so much will be such an asset to have everybody back home as soon as possible as the drawdown continues from Afghanistan and Iraq as well, to a lesser degree at this point in time. Sal Giunta, it's been a pleasure talking with you. The book is called Living with Honor, Medal of Honor recipient Sal Giunta. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, sir.
It's our pleasure, and thank you for watching Newsmax TV.